Hey, welcome back, Stuart. It's obvious, if to most of us, anyone who's paying attention, it's obvious why we're here. We're here to talk about Superman. So, the last time we chatted, now, when we were setting up the shop, you were saying how you're so much brighter. You're just so much more.
Oh yeah, your shirt's very
okay. How
very
long?
bright.
No, you were saying that this is the oldest Superman shirt you own.
As far as
Correct?
I know, yes.
As far as you know,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, my Superman shirt's about 20 minutes old. I'm just like, you know what I need? I needed a little bit more Superman inspiration just to kind of get us in the mode.
Sure.
Not that with you in the room, Superman I can't. I almost went with Batman.
I almost did too. Just to be funny. And plus, I'm going to go see Batman tomorrow.
And so what's going on with Batman tomorrow?
Tomorrow they're re-releasing Tim Burton's Batman, and Batman Returns.
This is August the 25th.
Yeah. What is the date today? Yeah, the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah. In Dolby Cinema.
Okay.
Just for one night only, you can see Batman and Batman Returns in Dolby Cinema back to back. And then on September 1st, they're going to do it again and show it earlier. Because if you do the double feature tomorrow, you'll be watching Batman Returns starting at 10 p.m. and people like me are too old for that.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, I resemble that accusation. Yeah. Well, okay, so I guess I would have to say, well, I guess let me ask. For me, obviously, models is my hobby. So, is it fair to say that movies are your hobby? Because you're always talking about going to a movie, or, I mean, you collect movie posters and soundtracks and the whole nine yards. So, is that a fair statement?
I suppose so. I mean, I feel like it's more than a hobby now, since I managed to worm my way into a job at like the largest movie theater company in the world.
Okay.
So I feel like now I can say I'm officially like in the movie business, even though I don't creatively make the movies.
Well, you could say the same thing about the science fiction people. I mean, people get into it just by, there are a lot of guys who started in the prop shops by sweeping the floor. So
yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
but movies and comics have basically been it for me.
So maybe, like I said, maybe we should start a new segment where we talk about the stuff that's out there on a regular basis. Because I am probably the polar opposite of that. The few things that come out, I'm keenly aware of. Like, okay, so for this year, I was keenly aware of the Marvel. See, I can't even remember.
So there was a Hulk. No, it wasn't.
Captain America.
I almost perceived it as a Hulk movie,
right?
But actually, it was a Captain America movie.
So Captain.
Yeah.
I have not watched that yet.
Yeah.
What was the other one? With the
Fantastic Four.
Have not seen Fantastic. See,
and then they did Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. And on the DC side, it was just Superman.
Just okay. So let's talk about Superman.
All right.
Let's talk about Superman. Okay, so we were just talking about the recent release. My figures are from August 14th of this year. So domestically, it's brought in $333.8 million. Internationally, 294 for a total of 583. Where you were just saying,
I think it did cross 600 million.
Okay. But I also saw a
barely,
thing. I saw another thing, and you were saying the first thing out of your mouth was, "It's not going to hit 700 million."
It's not going to hit 700 million,
and
that's a big deal because, like, it's the first time. I don't know if it's. I don't have the figures right in front of me, but generally speaking, every year, until recently, where there's been a big superhero movie release, and more than one superhero movie will cross $700 million, and occasionally they get to $1 billion.
Okay.
So this is going to be, I think I read, the first time sans 2020, where a superhero film no superhero film from the entire year reaches $700 million globally.
Okay. Well, I had read something that said that this Superman is the top grossing Superman or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
but is it?
It's easy to play with the numbers because the average movie ticket in what was it 2013 when Man of Steel came out was like $9.
Right. Okay,
and
that's
the average
fair.
movie
That's
ticket
fair.
now is not $9.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's not $9.
I think it's running.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that bad. I think it's anywhere from 12 to 15.
In terms of number of tickets sold, clearly Man of Steel and Batman v Superman beat the new Superman movie.
Well, yeah, highest grossing Superman film ever.
Yeah, highest grossing, that's true, but with inflation.
Okay,
right?
all right, that's fair.
But I think you also have to keep in mind that the theatrical, the distribution market's not what it used to be. In 2013, it was a very healthy pre-COVID marketplace where studios were releasing more movies per year. Studios were releasing, were able to release movies in more genres that were succeeding, like comedies, for example. And now, ever since the move to streaming, studios are just not... Audiences are, tired of paying the high prices.
Right.
They've learned that they can just wait a few weeks and it'll be on streaming, which, by the way, Superman already is on streaming
right
now. And studios are just not releasing the same number of films. So even if the audience were going, overall box office would still be down.
Well, and to be fair, most people's televisions, most people's living room is a theater better than what you're going to the theater. You're in your own environment. You can pause it when you want. There's no guy behind you kicking your seat. There's no kid, crying because he wants another milk dud.
But I think the counterpoint to that, though, is that when it's in your house, it's not an event. It's not a thing that... I think there's something about stopping your life and going to a thing that doesn't stop for you, that you can't push pause on, that everyone has to gather for it, right?
Okay.
And I know from my experience, if I want to watch a movie with my kids and I want them to pay attention, I wait till they release that movie in the theaters.
Okay. No, that's fair. Okay.
My kids, and I'm the same way, by the way. I mean, especially if it's a movie I've seen before, I'm sitting there the whole time, scrolling or whatever. And it's hard to stop myself. And even if I don't intend to do that, I'll get a notification or whatever, I'll get a message. And the next thing you know, I've missed some kind of plot point happening in the movie and I have to rewind it or whatever, right? If you go to a movie in a movie theater, you can't do that. I mean, I guess you can.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, there's a reason that has it. Turn your phones off.
You can, but it's frowned upon, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
It's like I can tell. It's just like I can tell my kids, hey, put away your phones. Let's watch this together. And then it's not a fun thing that we're doing. Now it's like I'm barking orders at you. I'm like enforcing the rules, and it's not a fun family gathering. Whereas if we go to the movie, they're just expected to put away their phones. Right. And there's nowhere for them to go. Right? So the problem I have too is like a lot of times if a movie's not, especially with my kids, if the movie's not, moving very quickly,
right.
if you have some extended scenes of just people talking in a room, attention spans get shorter and people just start paying attention to other things. But if they don't have anywhere to go, they're just going to continue to pay attention. And so I've found that a lot of times going to see a movie, it's great to be there and share that moment with an audience when everyone gasps at the same time and everyone claps at the same time and everyone laughs at the same time. I love being in that environment. But also, it's a way to sort of easily enforce with yourself that, hey, I'm going to pay attention to this thing now. I'm not going. It's not just a thing running in the background.
Right.
While I'm continuing to scroll the never-ending feed of outrage-inducing, social media or whatever it is.
Well, if I'm being honest with myself, that's specifically why I have not watched the Captain America or Thunderbolts, because I know I want the parameters to be. I want to watch it in the living room, sitting on my couch on the big TV. And I won't be. I think that's one thing I do, especially on the first run of a movie I've never seen. I won't do anything else. It's like my goal is to sit and watch this thing. So, but the problem is finding that time for all those parameters to fall into. I
agree. It's
hard.
Time.
Superman.
So
the last time we talked, we
set up straighter.
Right. You were we were hopeful. We were 6 months out. He still had not finished editing the story, and there was and the whole reason we started. I reached out to you was I'm just like, okay, why do we need another Superman? Why do we need to start this franchise yet again? And it kind of answers its own question, because like the previous franchise, it got dark. And I think a lot of, you included, were not really a fan of that darker, grittier. I mean, even they made the suit kind of darker for a reason. And so this kind of throws it back the other direction. So just initially going in, where are you? Are you happy with what you got?
I'm very happy with what I got. I'm very happy with it. I saw the movie and I was honestly like oscillating between like crying and like chills and laughter, and I was just like, I was like that meme of who's it, Shia LaBeouf in the movie theater.
Oh yeah.
I was that in the movie theater.
Okay.
I was just like, by the time the credits rolled, I was like emotionally exhausted. It was basically everything I could have wanted.
I'm happy to hear that. I, however, did not have the same reaction.
I figured not.
And that's not what this is. This isn't. That movie was bad, and here's why. I mean, that is definitely not. I mean, I really genuinely want, because I don't focus on what other people are saying. I don't seek out, well, what is Rotten Tomato? I did get the Rotten Tomato score. The audience score for Rotten Tomato was like 91, where critics was 83. Yeah. And I think those sound like pretty good numbers, because I've heard some other things.
Pretty good for a superhero movie, for sure.
Yeah. What got me was the way the movie opened. So basically, okay, this is a spoiler alert. If you have not seen it, as Stuart was saying, it's on video by demand, so you can stop here and go watch it and then come back. Or you can wait until a month and watch it when it comes out on streaming or DVD. But basically the opening of the trailer is the opening of the movie. And that shocked me. I was just like, wait a minute, we're starting off with him in... It's not like he was up here and we're like, oh yeah, he's great, and then he gets his butt kicked and then we have to bring him back up. We're starting at a deficit. Mm-hmm. So were you aware that was where we were beginning?
I sort of figured from watching the trailer. I remember thinking, I bet this is how the movie opens when I saw that. And I'm glad it's how the movie opens. I'm glad we don't have to sit through another version of the origin story,
right?
Because everybody already knows who Superman is,
right?
Everybody already knows Superman's origin story. Everybody already knows that he fights for truth, justice, in the American way. He's the strongest. He flies. He's got like laser beams that comes out of his eyes and stuff like that. And so making everybody sit through that again is just going to bore your audience like right out of the gate, I think. And so it was, I think, really smart. And the other thing is that one of the things that everybody knows about Superman is Superman's boring. Superman's boring because he's too powerful, and nothing can defeat him, right? And so I thought it was a great idea to start the movie by saying, actually, no. Actually, he might be very powerful, but he's already, behind. He's already, like, struggling. Because that is what makes the character relatable. He's somebody who's trying to do good, but struggling and can't manage to do it.
Okay.
And I think that's what's a lot of people miss, and what the opportunity of a science fiction universe gives you is you can create a character with amazing superpowers that's obviously superior to any human capabilities or whatever, but then what they forget to do, they then put that person in something resembling the real world. And isn't this fun to see this guy with superpowers in the real world? But why limit yourself that way? Superman's like a metaphor. Everything should be bigger, not just the character, but the whole world. Everything he struggles with should be bigger. Just like the fact that he has a pet, his dog misbehaves, right? Just like a lot of people have a dog or a cat that misbehaves. The difference is when his dog misbehaves, it can like destroy entire buildings and stuff, right? Like everything, it's you, but bigger. Right? And so that's, I think, the mistake that a lot of writers have when they deal with Superman is they don't think big enough. And I love that they did that, that they opened it that way.
So I liked the the trailer. It opened him and whistling, because when I heard the whistle, I knew, I'm like, he's calling Krypto. I knew nothing about it, and I just knew that was happening. So that first kind of scene where he's trying to get Krypto to get him to the Fortress of Solitude, and Krypto just kept jumping on him and everything. I felt it was funny, but I think it went a little bit too far. It went a little bit too long. And then when he grabbed him and got him over to the Fortress of Solitude, I'm just like, okay, this was that. I had a little bit of a disconnect with how far did this person hit him?
I assume they were in space.
Oh, see, okay.
I don't know. I assume they took the fight out into space, but I don't know. But the other thing is, I don't really need to know that.
Yeah,
like that's.
I know.
I'm willing to just accept that. Okay, he managed to land somewhere in the neighborhood,
right?
Of the Fortress of Solitude and not be detected. That's fine with me.
So you go from there and you get into the Fortress of Solitude, and so for me, this was not my first introduction to the robots in the fortress. I think they had a version of that in one of the animated series, which I kind of like that. But at that point you're introduced to, like, they get him. He was bad.
Yeah.
He was bad.
He wasn't. Yeah, he was doing.
They get him up on the table, and because it took like 6 of them. They gingerly lift. They gingerly lifting him and carrying him. Whatever. Voice acted by the number one, Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, he's great.
And I immediately recognized his voice, but yet at the same time, it's just like, dude, is that all they're going to give you now is robot roles? And I'm sure he's thinking the same thing, because he's got K2SO. And that's not a bad place to be. That really is. Well, but he does have Resident Alien, and I don't watch the show, but I hear it's fantastic. Yeah. So. But I like, they got him on the table and they did the scans, blah, 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 and then they lift him up and get the sunlight. And I guess he asked, do you want to hear the message again? Or whatever. So, because I guess Alan Tudyk's robot is talking to another robot, and she's just like, he said hi to me or whatever. And this is where I do like that you do get that humanity of Superman, because he's treating the robots like people.
Yeah.
He's just like, I care about you as a robot just as much as I care about, the citizens of Metropolis, Yeah,
and you saw that in the way that he sort of gingerly took Alan Tudyk's character's hand as he thought he was dying later in the movie. You saw it in the way that at the end when the same character is number 4. He sort of offhandedly says, "I'd like a name," and then he immediately starts calling him by the name, no question.
Yeah. So there's a lot there to like. There really is. So we also get introduced to the message, and the message is from
Jor-El
and Lauren Jor-El. Okay.
His parents from Krypton.
I always forget Jor-El's name, and I never know the mom's name. But, they also say that the message is broken up. They can only retrieve some of it, which is a plot point that comes back later in the film.
Yep.
That I think I kind of caught on that, and I think the last time we discussed, or maybe somewhere along the line on the internet, I saw something that was talking about that, which ends up being a major plot point. But we're going to send you to Earth. You're going to be a powerful being, and this will be good for you. Blah blah blah, and that's all we really get. But we find out that wasn't the whole message.
Twist.
Right. And the way we find that out was Superman got tracked by one of Lex Luthor's villains. They break into the fortress, and he decodes the entire message. Right. And that's kind of where it kind of turned for me, because when Superman sees the whole message, he's seeing it for the first time with the rest of the world.
Yep. And
then that's when the world kind of turns on him. And I've kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but I think that's kind of that was a little bit my frustration with it, because before, in the Chris Reeves Superman, you had that we are superior beings when Zod comes. Because we already know he has the ability to take over, and he hasn't yet. And Luthor spun that. And he hasn't yet. Yeah, he spun it. So let's.
So you don't like that the parents want him to essentially conquer instead of help humanity?
Yes, I don't like that message for anyone, anywhere. I mean, why would you want to go to another culture or whatever and just like, oh, you'd be a god, take over and just make them your slaves? And
But I mean, if you look back through history, anytime when there's been a technologically superior, and in this case physically superior, civilization that comes in contact with a less technologically superior civilization, what happens?
Well, I understand that. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's the point of the movie.
I guess for me, the problem is that it doesn't tarnish. It tarnishes him in the movie. Well, okay.
Tarnishes who? Do you think you're upset because it tarnishes Superman's real parents?
No, it tarnishes. Yes, because I always did. It makes you no longer, in my opinion, sympathetic for the fact that Krypton was destroyed. Because to me, I'm like, oh, it was so shit. If you're the last survivor of a civilization that wants to conquer you, who cares? But if you're the last survivor of this technological wonder that sent this, their only goal was to get their child there to survive. And they, I mean, what parent wouldn't want to do that?
Sure.
So I guess that's my frustration with that plot point.
I guess I don't have any sort of feelings of loyalty toward Krypton. Krypton was always just an excuse to get Superman to where he is.
Yeah.
To me. Krypton is whatever. I mean, Krypton's been done in so many different ways that it doesn't really matter to me what Krypton was, because it's gone, right? I mean, it's enough to say that. I think it's a useful metaphor to say, like, like we've had in many times in our history and in our mythology, like if you look at like the story of Atlantis, right, where it's like a great civilization that through its own hubris and through its own arrogance ends up destroying itself. It's like this cautionary tale. So in that sense, I like it. But other than that, I think that I don't really care what Krypton was, other than I take for granted, I take as assumed that, you know, it had all the greatness I would ascribe to any civilization that had reached that point, right, of great achievements and great technology. That it must have had its own good points.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter to me, because I don't think that what Superman is or isn't is dependent on what his parents wanted him to be or didn't want him to be. I think that him choosing to use his superpowers to be kind and help people and make the world a better place, in spite of what his parents want, is an even stronger message than that he did it because he was just following a path laid out for him.
So the thing that gets me, though, you say that it doesn't matter, you know,
Yeah.
but some of the most powerful moments for Clark Kent were, I mean, if you look back through some of the stories, like when Pa Kent dies by the tornado. And when he told him, yeah, okay, no, I know that's probably not one of your favorite movies or whatever, but the point being, I mean, he looked him in the eye and told him, don't do it.
Yeah.
And that affected him for the rest of his life. Even in this movie, you know, he was just, you know, he was down in the dumps and dejected. And that talk that he had with Pa Kent.
Well, now I think that's a different story, because now you're talking on the one hand about the people, about where he comes from genetically, essentially. He never knew those people that want him to go out and conquer. But now you're talking about the people who raised him, and that's a different thing. And I actually think that the movie is trying to make that point. It's trying to say that the people who raised you are more important than than whatever else you may think that you come, whatever legacy you think you may have, or destiny or whatever, you know, some intangible thing. The people who were there for you and who raised you and who taught you right from wrong and who loved you or didn't love you, as if the case may be.
Right.
Those are the things that really make you who you are. Right. And that's what I think the movie was trying to say. And in the case of the Pa Kent and the tornado, I mean, I agree. It had a huge effect on him for the rest of his life, to, I think, the detriment of the character, because I think that it gave him a source of guilt and shame that he didn't use his power to save his father when he wanted to. And the reason was to just keep himself secret, which to me is... So if you compare the scene in Man of Steel, where Clark wants to save his father says, no, don't save me, and he obeys because of this sense that his father wants to protect his secret, that he has these powers, right? Compare that, and he doesn't do it, and then he regrets it for the rest of his life. Compare that to the scene in Superman, James Gunn's Superman, when Lois is giving him all these reasons why he shouldn't have gone and stopped a war from happening. You know, you should have. Did you consult the Secretary of State? Did you consult anyone from blah blah blah? Did you consult, you know, whoever? Weren't you concerned about violating these treaties? And he gets so frustrated, he shouts, "People were going to die."
Yes.
Right. And there's something so refreshing about that it's like, no, none of that shit matters, man. Right. Like, people were going to die. That's to me, that's a hard comparison to that immediately draws between this Superman and the last Superman. The last Superman will say, well, maybe I shouldn't save those people for reasons.
So
Whereas the Superman is like, no, F you. People were going to die. I'm Superman. It's my job to save people. I'm going to save people.
Okay, I agree with that, and I do like that message. But the reason I feel like that up until, even though he was raised by Ma and Pa Kent, there's that thing that is just like, yes, they are the parents that whatever, they are the parents that raised me. But not having known his planet and his people, there's a certain level of pride, even if you just build up within yourself, that it's still a part of who you become. And I think it's just very crushing to take this culture that you thought was, that you have spent your entire life trying to live up to, because up until that point, the message from his parents was, do good, be good, be helpful. And that's a great message. And then you flip that around to, but they wanted you to conquer, blah, blah, blah. I think that's... I'm not a person that's into like ancestry, but I think that's just... I think he kind of traded... I think he really pooped on his ancestry. Now, as far as the parents you raised... The Kents annoyed me when they first got on screen. The
Kents. Yeah.
The Kents.
Yeah, with
because,
the accents and stuff.
Oh my God, they were hillbillies. And, okay, we're in Kansas. Okay, so the things, when you're from Kansas, that you constantly hear is Wizard of Oz and Superman, Smallville. Those are, I mean, it just is what it is. And I think it was, and Smallville has always felt small. It felt like a small community, no matter all the animated or whatever. You know, you get the cornfields and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I can live with that. To me, they gave them a full-on backwoods feel that I personally didn't appreciate. And I was just like, but the redeeming thing to me was the talk that Pa Kent and Clark had on, and it was he's sitting there eating cereal, and it's such a good scene. It's just like, you know, I mean, he was just dejected. It was so. I was very conflicted because I was so angry with what the Kents kind of represented, but how powerful it was for him to get back on the horse and da. I mean, it was definitely. Would you consider that a major turning point?
Absolutely.
So, I did like that. But let's step back a bit. You talked about the interview with the reason that Lois decided to interview him because Clark was interviewing Superman, and she's like, "You can't interview yourself. I mean, come on, you can't be objective." And she's fair. She was right.
She was totally right.
She was right.
Yeah.
And she hit him hard.
Yeah,
I mean, she's a very good reporter. She hit him hard.
He deserved it, though. When they first sat down, and he's all cocky, and he's all like, "Okay, Cronkite, hit with your best shot," or something like that. I was like, oh. He deserved it. And honestly, she knew it wasn't a real interview. She wasn't really interviewing Superman. What she was doing was she was trying to prove a point, which is, you haven't thought these things through. A. B. You're not a real journalist. This isn't right what you're doing, where you're interviewing yourself.
Right. That's fair.
You're not half as clever as you think you are.
But to be fair, being that they are in a relationship, her interviewing him, if she had interviewed him before they were in a relationship, it would have been better because it was basically the same thing. I mean, Because do you think he thought it was an actual interview? I think he went into it with the thought that, okay, let's do this.
I think he was ready for it to be an interview, or he thought he was.
Yeah.
But then what's funny is, I mean, he starts the interview by saying, it's okay, I'm media savvy. I can handle any question that they throw at me. And then it turns out, oh, in fact, no, you cannot.
Right.
And he gets enraged and he can't answer questions. And he ends up, accidentally spilling secrets and saying stuff off the record without saying it's off the record. And all that stuff because he's flustered. And it's like, no, actually, this stuff is hard. This stuff that one of the things I loved about that is he's kind of discounting what her job is. He's playing like a journalist. He's not really being a journalist because he has unfettered access to the biggest story in the world and he doesn't have to fight for it. He's just first in line automatically. Right. So it's not really fair. And so he doesn't appreciate the hard work that she actually has to do as a human journalist who actually got to her position through hard work, right? And being really good at it. And I think
you got way more out of that than I did.
Well, part of it's just because I've seen all these Superman, portrayals over the years, and Lois has always been done dirty, in my opinion. They never show her as a believable, like top tier, hard hitting, smart, member of the media. Someone I would actually believe as an investigative journalist, someone I would believe who could be in a room in a press conference and ask the tough questions and things like that. There's been versions of Lois that I like, but they've never done that justice until now.
I don't think I can safely say I wasn't a fan of this version of Lois.
Yeah.
If I had to choose a Lois, it would probably be one of the animated ones. I think I like them better, but you can
Dana Delaney.
I think you could.
She's up there for sure.
But I don't know why. I don't know if because with the animation you can kind of cheat, whereas it's an actress has to actually the voice acting can be there, but I think they can kind of do a little bit with some of the animation to enhance one way or the other. I was not a huge fan of her, but I think what she did, everything was... Their relationship didn't seem believable to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I
honestly thought the relationship was it's the crux of the whole movie.
But it always is.
Yeah, but in this case, it's like, it really is. Like, the movie is really just like 3 scenes, and the scenes are really all about their relationship.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the movie, to me, is the interview, right? And in that interview, you find out a whole bunch of things about them and how they don't really fit together, and how she's basically discovering she's thinking about breaking up with him, right? He's clearly they're clearly in love with each other, but she's like, we don't fit, we're not going to work, right? And they end on a sour note, and then things happen, and then they come back together again for a second scene, and it's after he's found out the truth about his parents, and he's in a low place. And I get the feeling, as I've watched it a few times now, that she was gonna break up with him there,
right?
And she didn't, because he surprised her in a couple of ways. He surprised her by calling himself punk rock, right? And then justifying, and what I feel like is like the thesis statement of the whole movie, right? Maybe that's when she's talking about, I'm cynical, I don't trust anyone, and you trust everyone and think everything is beautiful. And he's like, maybe that's the real punk rock. That's like 100%. That's the character to me. But her being surprised by him, and being surprised also that he would risk everything to go after the dog, right? She's just like, but it's a dog. And he's like, yeah, but he's probably scared. Nobody else is going to do it but me.
Right.
And that's what gave her pause. And then when he doesn't show up, she has to rescue him. No one's going to come and rescue him until she gets it done. And then at the end, they finally and I almost forgot in that scene where he calls himself punk rock. He says, "I love you," and she doesn't respond.
Right.
Right? Because, again, she was there probably to break up with him. She's having all these doubts. And through the course of what happens in her rescue of him and seeing what he does when he comes back, finally at the end, they're together. And I think that journey of their relationship together, from her doubts about him, the same way that he's winning over Lois, he's winning over the audience.
Right. Yeah. Just thinking about that final scene where they're in the building and, and they're...
Beautiful building, by the way. I've been there.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
It is a beautiful building. It is a beautiful scene. I just didn't buy it. I just wasn't taken with... It's like I felt all the things that were supposed to get me there. It's just... I don't know why I don't know why it just didn't resonate with me.
Okay.
But let's talk about the fact that she rescues him with the aid of some of the other characters so we've got Guy Gardner.
Yep.
We've got Mr. Terrific. We've got Hawk Girl, and was there? Those are the only three that were in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's step a little bit further back.
Let's
further back. Let's talk about Lex Luthor.
Okay.
He probably is. He's pretty close to my number one Lex Luthor.
Oh, he's the best Lex Luthor, I feel.
He did a fantastic job. I did not expect what I got from him.
As a sidebar, he originally auditioned to be Superman. That actor, Nicholas Hoult, was going to be Superman, right? Or wanted to be Superman. And could have played Superman. He's a very good actor. He's handsome. He could do it. But I mean, when you see them next to each other, you're like, well.
True.
But
true.
What I love about that is this version of Lex. This is the version of Lex from the comics, which we've never seen before on the big screen.
Okay.
And he's driven by envy. He's driven by the fact that he has had to work for everything in his mind, at least.
Right.
He's had to do all this hard work to succeed and he should be the one being celebrated by the whole world, not this guy who's basically like a handsome jock who lucked into his superpowers, right? He doesn't deserve this. And the fact that in a meta-textual sense that they hired someone who wanted to play Superman to play that part, it's chef's kiss.
Well, you don't get to.
Right.
But
exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
he was fantastic. He was really, really good.
I think he ticked all the boxes for a supervillain. I was a little bit... I was on the fence where he was giving the orders telling how to defend against what Superman's attacks are.
Yeah.
That's
1A.
Yeah. I mean, just like 3B, 4K.
Yeah.
9.
You sunk my battleship. Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I felt about that, because it's either he's just wicked smart, that he's got all that and he's got a room full of people that are doing this, or it's really goofy. To me, it could go either way.
I honestly don't think you have to choose. I think it's fine that it's goofy. I think I think goofy is part of the DNA of Superman. I think you can't have a story about a guy who flies around and wears trunks on the outside of his suit and shoots laser beams out of his eyes and says, "How are you, ma'am?" And and it's just like golly and gee and whatnot. I don't think that you can have that story without an amount of whimsy and goofiness. Oh. And when you try to take all the goofiness out of it, it just becomes something else.
Okay, so and I think that's why I like the difference between Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
I like the fact that like Batman is the polar opposite of Superman. Dark, gritty, grimy, and so I think I feel like that's why he exists. He gets to be the realism that Superman is not. But other than Lex, as far as a supervillain, a lot of his rogues gallery could be kind of, well, I guess you could say the same for Batman, but kind of laughable. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Especially, like, if you think that he's going to defeat them with his fists, then there's no threat at all.
Right.
Right, with the Toy Man or somebody like that, or the prankster, right? But the thing is that that's not really how to write a Superman. I mean, it's some kinds of Superman stories, I guess. He gets some problems he solves with his fists, and it's fun to watch him take out Ultraman, and it's fun to watch him take on Doomsday, and it's fun, for me, was especially fun to watch him take on all the dudes in the Lex armor when he's doing the Death Blossom with the heat vision and spinning around and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, again, but that's not ultimately how he wins. How he wins is he keeps people safe, and he reassures them that they're safe, and then he tries to save everyone, even the bad guy.
Again, which is why I like that Batman-Superman dynamic.
Yeah.
Because Superman will try and save the bad guy.
I think Batman
not so much.
Yeah, Batman answers a different need.
Yeah.
I think that for Superman's like a big brother. He's like he's a father figure. He's someone he's that person that you want to believe is in charge, who will do the right thing, right? Who will make sure, when people are like, something happens and the system breaks down and you're like, I'm going to appeal to the top. He's that guy at the top that you want to be there.
Right,
You know
okay.
what? This is wrong, and I'm going to make it okay, But Batman is the desire, I think, for the bad guys to be just as scared as you are. He's the desire to feel powerful against the people that make you scared, which is a different. I still think is a valuable and totally legit, place to come from in a story, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, I always looked at Batman as the guy that, well, I need to get this done. I need you to stay on the right side.
But he specifically
but
does
I really need you to go get this
He
done.
specifically does it by scaring people.
Yeah.
He specifically dresses up in a costume and stays in the shadows and all these things and creates a mythology around himself in order to engender people fearing him, which is not something that Superman would do.
Right. Yeah. And that's why we love him.
Yeah.
So on the Justice League, the Justice Gang,
they say, yeah. Which is a running gag.
Okay, which is what Guy Gardner
yeah.
is really trying to push.
Yep.
I think they got Nathan Fillion was perfect for that role. I think he just that one picture with him with the kind of the sneer. I think it's when they were in the library right after they decoded the message, and he's "Is this true?"
He's stepping up to Superman like he's going to fight Superman.
I'm just like, dude, I'm just like, really? Because you're gonna lose, badly.
But he would do that, though. I think.
Yeah, guy would.
Yeah.
Hal would have been like, we need to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the thing is, as a DC Comics reader, for most of my life, I have always despised not Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner.
Right.
I hate Guy Gardner.
But I think everybody does.
If I see Guy Gardner on the page, I will skip to the next page. I just can't stand the guy. And he's not even like fun, like it's not like it's like watching, I don't know, Archie Bunker or something, and he's saying stupid stuff and it's funny. he just annoys the crap out of me. But in the movie version, they thankfully made it funny. And I think it helped that James Gunn was writing it. It helped that Nathan Fillion was playing the character. He's great at doing that kind of stuff where he's just like the buffoonish, arrogant, guy. I mean, it's similar to the character he played in Dr. Horrible when he was Captain Hammer. Right.
I don't think I saw that.
Oh.
But
he did.
Okay. So I think if you want to hold up the who was that played Lex? Nicholas Hoult. Yeah. You also have to hold up the character that played Mr. Terrific.
Oh yeah, Eddie Gathecki or something.
Yeah,
like
something.
Yeah. I only know him from a couple other things. X-Men First Class, I think. He was in X-Men First Class. He was.
I've only seen that one. That one of my favorite X-Men.
He was fantastic though.
Was he?
And not in for X-Men. I mean, he was fine.
Yeah, no. In this,
and as Mr. Terrific, he was fantastic. And I was so happy that James Gunn. I mean, and I think I said this when we talked last time. His specialty is in taking these characters that are obscure characters that nobody cares about or nobody knows about or very few people, and bringing them out and fleshing them out and bringing them out into the world and making them now these breakout characters that everybody loves.
Right.
Which I'm so happy that he found Mr. Terrific and decided to do that with Mr. Terrific, because Mr. Terrific is a really cool character, and he was played impeccably in Superman. I was quoting. There's a downloadable Fortnite skin of Mr. Terrific, and I was playing Mr. Terrific on Fortnite all the time. And I would take somebody out and be like, I need your help. God damn, Mr. Terrific. That line just kills me every time.
Well, the thing that got me was, I wasn't... Okay, so we first get introduced to the Guy Gardner, and he's like over the top. And then you have Mr. Terrific, and then just like... I'm like, these guys are just like jerks, I mean, yeah, they're fighting bad guys. Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was a scene where Superman was talking to Lois, and then they were fighting some bad guy in the background. It's
like they've got that.
Yeah, shouldn't you be helping? They're like, no. And they were just really, and you saw this from a distance, so you really didn't get to see what Mr. Terrific was capable of doing until you get to the beach scene.
Oh yeah.
When we got to the he walks in cocky as like, hey, I'm here to investigate this thing, and then he has his little robots around him and everything. I'm like, okay, we need to do this, and then they go to attack, and then just like, nope.
No, one of the things I love about that too is they hesitate to attack until one of them says, "Oh, don't worry, it's the brainy one."
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right,
They assume he's no threat because he's the nerd of the group, right?
So I like that aspect. I've just got done listening to The Bad Batch, a Star Wars novel called Sanctuary. And there's this same kind of a scene. Tech is fighting a guy, and this guy, he's, I've got all these, you're the smart one. And he just waits for a signal, and then goes, oh, okay, now I can take you out. I love that little switch. Yeah, I may be smart, but
don't
can be a badass too.
Don't underestimate the nerd. Yeah.
Don't underestimate nerds.
But I thought it was a great idea for them to include those other characters in the movie, because once again, for the same reason that we don't need to see Superman's origin story again, we don't need to see another movie where Superman is the only superhero in the world. I think that everyone already accepts Superman is super when compared to humans. But the point of having him in a world of other heroes is to say, yes, but also Superman is super in a world of heroes too. He's also exceptional in a world of heroes, because if you notice, when the giant monster was attacking Metropolis, Superman is the only one trying to save the monster.
Oh, yeah, save the monster. Yeah.
Everyone else is just rolling their eyes like, come on, man. Right? Superman actually, he wants to save the people, but he also wants to save the monster. And so it having those other characters there allowed them to draw that comparison, right? So and I think that was a fantastic idea, and I think that's probably at least one of the reasons why they redesigned the S in the way that they did, because that design of the S was used in the Kingdom Come miniseries, which was a series takes place in the far future where Superman has like retired. He's gone off into isolation, and the world's been sort of taken over by warring, superheroes, I'd say, like the superpowered beings who are no longer looked up to as heroic, right? And Superman comes back now with this symbol and basically shows the world that, like, look, we're going to clean this up. And I think using that symbol in this context of him with other heroes that are, I mean, not that they don't have good intentions, not that they're not good at their job, but they're not Superman. And I think drawing that comparison was a big part of the point.
So, in the other characters that were in the movie, the other one that we did not mention was Hawkgirl.
Hawkgirl, yeah.
See, as an afterthought.
Dora the Explorer.
Yeah. So when I first saw her, I thought it was Gina Ortega at first, because I just saw a glance, and then when I was doing my research, I'm like, oh, she did. Which the problem I have with her, she didn't do anything to stand out, except
she
for
murdered that dude.
Okay,
she murdered a dictator.
Well, okay. No, okay. But that was almost at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay. So, but even at that, all she did was, swing her mace and screech.
Yeah.
And I was.
I mean, it's a 2-hour movie.
Well,
it's not called the Hawkgirl movie.
Well, I know, but I mean, okay. So, I am a fan of the story, the Hawkgirl, Greenland. Okay, the other Green Lantern, the one I like, that I can't remember his name.
Hawkman?
John Stewart.
Oh, John Stewart. Okay, yeah.
So in the animated series, they had that John Stewart Hawkgirl storyline. Obviously, we're not going to get that. I mean, with the age of this Hawkgirl, she seems like a younger Hawkgirl. Yeah. And you have Guy Gardner as your.
Yeah, but they're bringing John Stewart into.
Are they?
Yeah, there's a Green Lantern show. I think it's actually wrapped production. It's going to go on to HBO Max. And
I think I did see something about that.
I can't remember the name of the actor who plays John Stewart, but he was in that movie with Don Johnson, where he was like, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's just right on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, he's cool.
Yeah,
he's cool from that movie I saw him in. Yeah.
So, okay, but I guess since that's kind of my exposure, I really like that version of Hawkgirl. I mean, and in that version, and this is the animated series. Yeah. So when you first see her, you only see her with her head cowl on, and the Thanagarians, they're flying beings, so they always have their wings. Now, that works in the context of animation. It's hard to do on film, and I guess that's what threw me off was when when Superman comes to the Justice gangs,
yeah,
which I know you caught it when they showed the thing. It was the Hall of Justice, and I'm just like, there weren't that many people around when I saw that. I just died laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to be there.
Yeah,
you just had to be there.
That was a great choice. I'm glad they did it.
But she's laying on a couch, and I'm just like, well, where are her wings? I was put off by that. I'm just like, but then again, it makes you think, well, how do the clothes work? But she really. Other than killing the dictator.
And she had time to think about it, too. It wasn't just like a in the heat of the moment thing. She's just like, oh, you don't think I'll do it?
Right. Well, okay, but I think that lends to that first version of Hawkgirl, like in the animated series, where she was a fantastic warrior. It's just, you would put her equivalent to Wonder Woman. Her and Wonder Woman were hand in hand. And, and Wonder Woman's a demigod, but, they're Thanagarians. They're, again, another alien. And the only reason you lose the cow was when you find out, kind of much like in this story, I don't know if she was injured or whatever, but she was sent to Earth as a spy to take over, to help, to lead the invasion.
Yeah.
Much like in this movie. And
that might still be the case.
And it could be. It could be, but I guess I feel like in that storyline, I guess it's going to be the same thing, because I feel like they were a little bit more honest, because they made you fall in love with the character for several episodes, and then you find out that that's not why you're here. You're here to conquer. It's the same thing
like
as
Superman.
Well, no, exactly. But for whatever reason, I guess because every time you saw her, she came out as a warrior. So it makes more sense that her culture would be to come to conquer, whereas Superman, because of who he is, you feel like the culture is going to be a little bit more benevolent and
I think he's been left to, in this version anyway, he's been left to sort of fill in the blanks. And so what he imagines, he's created what Krypton was in his mind. It is what he wants it to be.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I also feel like that I agree that is a hard pill to swallow for someone, but I think that's something a lot of people have to deal with in real life when they discover, like, oh, I grew up, swallowing all the stuff that I learned in school about, American exceptionalism and blah, blah, blah. And then you learn things about history that maybe aren't the most comfortable things to learn. And you have to go, well, what do I do with that information? Right? Do I continue to move forward thinking the same things I always thought were right are right, and continue to push for, a better world into the future? Or do I, retreat into some kind of denialism or something like that? So I think that it's that sort of crisis of conscience having to do with discovering, that your history or your legacy or where you came from maybe isn't as pure as you thought it was. It's an interesting thing, and it's a thing that real people have to deal with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. You're so deep. So, on the, let's say the neutral sides of the story, we still have a couple of the characters that were integral to, let's say, the downfall of Lex Luthor, the rise of Superman. You've got Jimmy Olsen, which
I loved Jimmy Olsen in this.
I think normally Jimmy Olsen is, I don't want to say he's a throwaway character, but I never put much stock in him.
I love Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen was created to be a stand-in for the readers of Superman.
Yes.
He's a kid.
Yes.
Who he's he's a copy boy. He's just excited to be there. Right? He's I get to be in the room with all this stuff happening and whatnot. Oh, golly.
And yet he has a hot supermodel girlfriend.
Yeah, I love that. And did you catch that? Everybody's constantly, all the girls in the office are constantly gossiping about him and staring at him. And when he's going through his phone contacts, it's all names of girls.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
They basically made Jimmy into a stud.
Yeah.
I loved that, and I especially loved it since he was so disrespected in Batman v Superman when they had Jimmy show up for one scene and then shot in the head. And that was his entire contribution to the DC cinematic universe, or whatever they call it.
I don't remember that scene.
Oh, yeah. And then when they asked Zack Snyder about it, he's just like, who the cares about Jimmy Olsen?
Well, that right there kind of sums up the whole that whole run of Superman. Okay, so I would definitely
Pardon my
put
French.
yeah, I would definitely put Jimmy Olsen above, say, what's the guy, the old sailor guy.
Oh, Bibbo?
Bibbo, yeah. So, like I said,
I'm disappointed we didn't get a Bibbo.
So it's like one of those things where I'm aware of Bibbo. He's on the outskirts, and like I said, most of my Superman knowledge comes from Superman the animated series.
Yeah, which is a good series.
if he popped in, I would go, oh, that's Bibbo.
Yeah.
You know, but I had a hard time believing Jimmy Olsen of being this, I
just thought it was funny.
Well, because it feels...
It was fun, so I just
it feels in conflict to, if he's supposed to be our everyday guy, he's the everyday reader. The everyday reader is not...
Yeah, I guess, but it's an everyday guy with a twist.
Yeah, that's true. But, okay, so, and then...
The mutant toes thing was hilarious.
The what?
So the deal was he was having an affair with Lex's girlfriend.
Yes.
And every time he would talk to her, she would want to spend more time with him, and he would want nothing to do with her. And he's only spending time with her in order to get information from her.
Right.
And she says something about how he said her toes looked like a shrimp cocktail. And he's as a contact, she's in his phone as mutant toes.
I completely missed that. Yeah. You know what? Okay.
It's a funny movie. One of the funniest parts of this movie nobody talks about is when Lex Luthor is in the Pentagon, right? He's talking to all the Joint Chiefs and stuff, and he's got this very serious presentation. And he's like, and in part of the presentation, he's like, I have created this guy. It's Ultraman, and he's the most powerful being on the planet. He can take out entire armies, and there's all these... he's showing him like throwing tanks around and stuff, right? And then the presentation is over. There's Ultraman. He's like, lights, please. And Ultraman stands there, clicks the lights on. And I just thought it was freaking hilarious that he has the most powerful person on the planet just as an errand boy to stand there and turn the lights on and off and do there's another bit later where he just stands there and holds a donut.
Yeah, okay. I think
And I love that. I loved that he's so arrogant that he overuses or rather underutilizes this resource, right? Who's like presumably this great powerful person as an errand boy.
Yeah,
because it makes him feel superior.
Yeah.
Look how strong I am, that I have, this super strong, superpowered guy here to just run errands for me, and I can just humiliate him at any turn.
I think that's where I did not like. I think it served itself well in the movie, where the more you saw Lex on screen, the more unhinged you could see that he was. And I like my Lex Luthor a little bit smarter than that.
Well,
so I think that's if I had a downfall, if with a character, he was a xenophobe, and I'm just like, well.
I agree with that, but I would say again, it's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
So they had to, in order to keep things moving and keep it exciting, it had to be like things are happening to where he gets very annoyed.
Right, right.
And also I think that probably there was some intentional comparison with known billionaires who are super smart or think they are and misuse their employees and throw temper tantrums in public. And I think that was intentional.
Okay. No, that's the entertainment industry is. That's kind of what they're there for. They can say some of the things that that we can't.
Yeah.
Except for with our vote. Go vote.
Rock the vote.
But the reason that partially. Well, I guess not partially. One of the main reasons that they figure out that Lex is kind of behind. Well, Lois has the first kernels of ideas that Lex is kind of behind, or there's some kind of connection between the war in that he stopped, that Superman stopped, and Lex is that
he's giving away all this stuff.
Yeah. And
he's giving
so
away the arms that he should be charging for.
And basically they find out. I don't know if this. She surmises that he, in taking over the one country, taking over the other, then he gets control over it, and then he makes himself
king.
You know, I was going to say dictator, but
I think they use the word king.
They probably
purposely.
did. Yeah. So I'm just like, does that fall in line with that character? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but also remember that he says later that the entire Baravia military plot was just to give him an excuse to take out Superman.
Yes.
So I do believe that he does want to be king, and I do believe that he was planning to take advantage of that situation and set up shop if the opportunity was available. But that was a second tier priority.
Yeah,
First tier was taking out
Superman. At the possible destruction of the planet. See, that's he cut the dimension in this and so they're in a different dimension and it's splitting the planet apart.
I just think it's a consequence of his arrogance that he feels like he can always fix it. Whatever it is, he can fix it.
Well, and then once the thing got reversed, once Mr. Terrific fixed it.
I don't need your help.
So
I love that part so much.
I will say, at that moment where we were led, because in the trailer you see the little kids lifting up the Superman sign, and you're the flag, and you're just like, Superman's gonna save them, and Superman actually doesn't save them. Well, he doesn't. He doesn't save them directly.
Not directly.
But at the same time, since we know that there's that connection between the Baravian leader and Lex Luthor, and when Hawkgirl does get to him, just like, you're a hero, you can't kill, you're not going to kill me, and okay. I felt like that for a Superman film. That kind of felt like a step too far.
My youngest kid would agree with you. He thought the movie was too violent.
Okay, so I don't think it was too violent. But I think the other thing that put me off, and the only way this would put me in the camp for not liking Guy Gardner, was when he was flipping over the tanks, and he was giving the finger. Yeah. I'm just like, in a Superman movie, really? I just it speaks to that character, because from what I can tell, that's who that character is. I did not need that here. So
I thought it was funny. I think that little kids aren't probably. In order to have a successful Hollywood blockbuster movie, you have to get teenagers.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Pretty much. If it's unless it's a Disney movie, I'm talking about like an action movie, right? So I think that James Gunn very intentionally made it a little bit more hard-edged, as much as he could. And I think to a certain degree it was useful, because you see all the other members of the Justice Gang being violent, flipping people off, swearing. And meanwhile, Superman doesn't swear a single time. Yeah. Superman's just like, gosh, I wish there was just some other way we could do this. Golly. And it allows them to make that comparison, where I think it's fine to make the world around him more hard-edged, but you don't make Superman more hard. Superman's the same. That's what's important. So and I think that there's a comic strip that I saw once where it was just supposed to be like a funny, like a business thing that I think I saw it on LinkedIn even, where it was like Clark Kent interviewing for a job. And it was like the guy's asking him, what's your greatest weakness? And he's like, kryptonite. And then the boss says something like, oh, I was thinking more, business related. He's like, oh, delegation. Right. And that's funny. But I think it's true, though, actually. I think Superman does have a problem with delegation. I think that's one of the central things that comes back in good Superman stories all the time, where he has to choose. He can't be in two places at once.
Right.
He has to prioritize. Do I stop the missile, or do I save the person over here, or whatever? And him sort of finally reaching out to the Justice Gang and saying, because they present it in that way in the movie, right? He's like, I have to go stop the invasion of Baravia right now. The kids are counting on me. They're raising the flag and they're chanting my name. I have to go. And Mr. Terrific's like, there's not going to be a Baravia or a Metropolis or a planet Earth unless you get here right now, right? And so in order to solve that problem, he had to reach out and say, hey, you got to do me a solid, man. And I think that was hard for him to do. So in a sense, I think he sort of did save the kids.
Oh,
It's
no,
not,
no, no, because he in the movie he says, it wasn't as goofy as I phoned a friend, but is that what he did? Was it I phoned a friend?
I'll take a phone a friend. Yeah.
Well, I guess I was paying more attention.
No, I don't know if he said that literally.
But
that is what I
yeah,
thought.
maybe it would have been a good line. But
Yeah.
it was something about I called in a friend or something like that.
That was
So okay, so we made it through the whole movie. The Miss Tessmacher thing was the reason. So you see Miss Tessmacher taking pictures of her. She's doing selfies the whole thing. And in the process, behind her, you have, a picture of Bravia and just all these different things. So that's how
this top secret plans and shit.
Yeah. So because Jimmy Olsen had this relationship with her and she wanted to get back with him, and that's how that all got figured out.
It's a situation.
This is a situationship. Is that new young folks lingo? So
I'm not as in demand as Jimmy Olsen. So
I don't think any of us are in demand as much as you. You talk about fantasy. This was the whole fiction. So, but we got it all taken care of. Now, we did have a part of Lex's bad side was he had created this other dimension or whatever, and that's where he was throwing the people from Baravia, the political people that...
Without due process.
Right. Well, and even girlfriends or whatever, anyone who spoke of him disparagingly ended up in this this alternate dimension.
Yep.
So what was it? Was it Metamorpho? Metamorpho. Okay, so we get introduced to Metamorpho.
Another great character. Another great obscure character, I should say.
So I need to look up this story.
Yeah.
I can remember being a kid. My mom and dad used to go to the commissary every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. And they would always try and bring us something home from the commissary. So one of the times, as they should. So one of the things they brought us one time was a Walt Disney record album, and it had some of the songs from Walt Disney songs. We're Siamese, Hushabye Mountain.
Had the same one.
Yeah. So I'm just like, and I've thought about. There was even this little one, I think Dick Van Dyke narrated it, about a little kid. Like, it taught you how to cross the street. It was like, stop! I got to find it. I'll have to hunt it down. But I also got a Star Wars flip book catalog that way. But one of the things that they did, they brought home this record album, and it was like the Justice League story album.
Okay.
And I found
it on a full-size album?
It was a full-size album. And the very first one, it was like, call the roll of the Justice League
You remember the whole
of
song?
America. Yeah, it was. And the thing that got me was it was like Superman here, Wonder Woman here, and Batman here. I was like, I was so annoyed by that.
Batman sounds like Alfred E. Newman.
It was bad. But the thing that got me was there was a story on there, and I do believe it was Metamorpho, and it was like bow down to Metamorpho, and so I always the way it portrayed this was Metamorpho was a bad guy, so it kind of threw me off that Metamorpho was was neutral.
Yeah.
Until he became a good guy.
Well,
I mean, once he was rescued out of the...
Neutral might be a little harsh for somebody whose like child is being held hostage.
Well,
You know, but yeah.
yes.
I mean,
yes.
but again, I loved that Superman always wants to save everyone, even the bad guy, even the guy who's in the cell with him, holding him hostage
yes.
with kryptonite. He wants to save that guy.
No, okay, I don't have a problem with that. I just. So you made the comment that James Gunn is very good about bringing these obscure characters forward and then turning them into these icons. Yeah. Rocket is the perfect example. I can remember myself going, "Why do I care about Raccoon?" Yeah. Where Rocket is probably one of my favorite characters.
He's great.
Of Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Groot and Star-Lord, you know. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd have to learn more about Metamorpho.
I think that's what they want, honestly. I think one of the things I like about the movie, too, is it doesn't feed you everything. It feels like you came into the middle of the story.
Yes.
It feels like that whole Star Wars Episode 4 deal. Like,
yeah.
Back then, I mean. But
right.
There was an Episode 1 where you're just like, oh, really? Episode 4, you said.
So, yeah,
like,
what happened to 1 through 3?
Yeah. And I felt like there's lots of clues all throughout the movie that there's stuff happening over here, you know, that's interesting, and aren't you curious about it? And then, we're not going to tell you. Tune back in. Go to your local comic shop, kids.
Right. And so
And the Supergirl thing was an example of that, too. Which we're doing spoilers, right?
Yes, we are doing spoilers. Okay, I did say that long ago. If you didn't listen, this is on you. Yeah. But the whole... So when you do get to the end of the film and you do get to... okay, as much as I was like about Crypto because he was bad dog or whatever, and then he comes in and helps save and get everyone...
I will say, Crypto did have that syndrome you see a lot in the movies where it's like... There's an unruly wild animal, and then the main character comes and like calms them down, and then the next scene you see they're like completely trained and do everything they're supposed to do. You know? Like that was stretching things a little bit.
Yes,
but I just like Crypto.
Yeah,
it was fine. It was like, yeah, it's fine.
I guess. So, but in this one, Crypto isn't his dog. Crypto is Supergirl's dog. So. I think that's where I gave it a pass because I'm just like, I mean, the pieces of Crypto that I've seen, Crypto was a good dog. Crypto was just like,
no, it's definitely a new take. It's for sure a new take on Crypto.
But he was a puppy too. He was a younger dog. Yeah. So I mean, he wasn't quite a puppy. You can see why
his behavior was that way because when his real owner shows up, she's like, "Yeah, jump all over me and like attack me and stuff."
See, you probably really enjoyed that.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I'm like. So I mean, I don't know. I think so. That opens the door to where we have Supergirl in this. Is this Supergirl one that we've seen before, or is this?
I think it's basically a new version. It's from there's a miniseries that came out a few years ago called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's really good, but it's pretty much unrelated to any version of Supergirl that's been before. And it's pretty much like Supergirl goes planet hopping. She goes looking for adventure because she's kind of a drunk loner and gets in adventures. and it's very kind of like heavy metal-ish, Heavy Metal the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like just surrounded by strange alien fantasy characters, and it's in a world where kind of like anything can happen, and almost kind of like a barbarian-ish quality to it, because it's a lot of like sword and sorcery and sword play and stuff happening with giant creatures. It's great, but it's not really related to the version of Supergirl that we've mostly come to know through previous iterations, where she's been kind of like a girl version of Clark Kent, right? She's basically like, she goes to a girls' school. She, you know, in the TV show at least, basically becomes a reporter. Like, she's essentially just Clark Kent, but a girl.
Right.
And I honestly don't mind losing that version of the character. I think it's more interesting to just have a new take that's like different from Superman, because if you have those two characters together, it's kind of, I mean, the one thing that was kind of interesting to see Supergirl and Superman, and they can keep this, I think, is that Supergirl grew up in a version of Krypton, right? So unlike Superman, she actually has some fondness and nostalgia for it. And so I think that'll be interesting, and I hope that they keep that, because she will probably give him some pushback on what Krypton actually was. Right? And what he maybe should actually be doing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see. I think that having those different points of view bounce off each other is a good, I don't know, jumping off point, though.
Okay, so in this version of Superman, do you see a General Zod?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, also maybe not, because why do it again?
No, no, I mean, yeah. I mean,
it's like,
I'm going by what I know.
I would say General Zod fits perfectly with this version of Superman, because I mean, if even Jor-El was like, you should just go forth and conquer, then of course some dude who was in the military is also going to be like, yeah, we should go forth and conquer, and shit like that. And also, I knew your father. This isn't what he would have wanted you to do, and he could say that kind of stuff.
But you know? To your point, do you feel like this is rehashing?
I kind of don't want him to do it, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what, you know, there's so many great potential stories to tell. Why do General Zod again?
So where do we go from here? In your opinion, what's the next step? Okay, so are we assuming that that now that he's friends with the Justice Gang, we're going to rename them the Justice League, and we are going to get a version of the Justice League?
I assume so, but not in the next couple of years. I think they'll save that a little bit. At least I hope they will. I hope they don't do the previous DC thing where they're like, here's Superman, here's Batman and Wonder Woman, here's Justice League. You know, like, yeah. And we're going to introduce all these other characters, the Flash and Aquaman, everybody, all at once. And then we're going to count on you to care about them. And then we'll release their solo adventures. And by doing it that way, one of the bad things about that was that the filmmaker behind Batman v Superman got to determine what those characters were.
Yeah.
Right? One guy got to say, this is going to be our version of the Flash. This is what he's going to look like. This is what his personality is going to be like. This is our version of Aquaman, etc. Instead of it, like when Marvel did it, it was different. It was different takes from different creators with different styles, right? Thor seemed like a very different movie from Iron Man, for example, right? And part of the fun of having a team, a book or movie, is to take those different styles and see how they mesh together or don't mesh or clash. And when they all come pre-packaged to where they look the same,
right?
It's just not exciting anymore to me. You're not like wondering what's gonna happen and stuff. How's this gonna work? That's part of the fun.
Okay. So the different question. Yeah. What villain would you like to see against this Superman?
Oh man. With the tough questions. I don't want to see Doomsday again.
Yeah. Doomsday is problematic for me.
Doomsday, it's just been...
But you know what? I also don't want to see Bizarro.
I think it's redundant after they've done Ultraman. And the version of Ultraman they did is basically Bizarro. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I get, yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
yeah.
clone who's kind of broken and whatnot. I mean, so... Gosh. I don't know. I guess I don't focus on...
What's next?
I don't focus on villains. Well, to me, Superman's a thing from the past, to me. Like, I watch the new stuff, I read the new stuff, but it's kind of disposable. To me, Superman is a thing that has happened, and it's kind of over. And everything that happens now, and I love the new movie, and I hope that it continues to be great. It's all referencing a thing that's kind of an era that is now gone. So, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's kind of
and you know what? That's a fair answer. I mean, if that's how you feel.
I already have my Superman
Okay,
stories.
so that was going to be the next question.
Like, I feel like Superman, the comic book character, ended in 2006 with the All-Star Superman series. To me, that is the end of Superman. Well, maybe a little exception to be made for DC 1 million, where the Superman comes back who's living in the sun, maybe. But essentially, that was the end. And I'm fine with that. And I will let it rest at that.
Okay.
And anything else that comes now is like, oh, that's cool. That's a nice
That's
nice
a good,
little version of a
It was
thing
a
that I like.
nice little side jaunt.
Yeah, but it's kind of like...
But it's not good. It's not this.
It's the same thing way I feel about Star Trek. I mean, I enjoy watching the Star Trek that's on now. I have no illusions that this version of Star Trek matches up to the classic Star Trek. That is going to lead up to that.
Right.
No way. No possible way. This is definitely a new version. And that's fine. I'll watch it and enjoy it for what it is. My Star Trek is a thing from the 1960s through the 1990s, and that's fine. That's it. Okay. And so I kind of feel the same way about Superman. I hope that it's great.
So when you say from 1960s to 1990s, you're the TV series and then the movies.
Yeah.
The correlating movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it was over. And it's fine. I think it's fine for things to be over sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, in so much as this was the end, you can't screw it up from this point forward.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that corporations that own, brands and intellectual properties are always going to try and tap into those things and exploit, you might say, those brands. And that's just the reality that's going to happen. So as long as Superman is a thing that people will buy T-shirts of,
right,
there's going to be new Superman things, and I will try to enjoy them.
Well, like I said, I'm just telling you right now, they got my money because of you. This is your fault.
You're welcome. You're welcome, DC.
You're welcome. Son, I think we've covered the gambit.
Is this podcast longer than the movie, which is 2 hours?
You know what? I was thinking that we did this last time. Our discussion about Superman was longer than the movie itself.
Yep.
But I'm so glad you came by. I thoroughly enjoy talking to you about this stuff. I really like the fact that we're in the same room together.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
I can
I've
do
never been to your studio before.
Yeah, studio. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's a studio. It counts.
Well, so after we get the podcast done, we're going to get the realtor. We're going to take this down and see the wall. So the wall is. But anywho, again, thank you for coming by. I really do think we ought to do this more often. We ought to find a subject that we can sit down and talk about, especially if it's a movie that you really that you enjoy, that you and I can both kind of share. We can sit down and hash out the positive, the pros and the cons.
Mandalorian and Grogu comes out next year.
Ooh.
Also, Supergirl comes out next year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely Mandalorian. Have you been?
Yeah.
Are
I
you?
watch the shows. Yeah.
We were talking about Tim Burton a little bit earlier, and we were talking Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday is
Wednesday,
fantastic. So, well, what are you watching now? What are you following now? I mean, obviously Wednesday.
Man, I would love to be watching Peacemaker season 2,
I've not,
but
seen
unfortunately, my wife will only binge things, and they're releasing it one episode at a time. So I have to wait. Probably I don't know how long she'll make me wait. Probably at least 4 weeks, and to rack up enough episodes for her to binge all at once. And meanwhile, everybody's talking about what's going on Peacemaker, and I can't watch it. But also, I'm watching Wednesday, and we got to the end of Wednesday, and now we have to wait till September 3rd.
I've not gotten there
when
yet.
They do part 2 of season 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've not got. How many episodes is it? 6? I think I'm on episode 5. The last episode.
Not very many. It didn't take us very long to get to the end.
Last episode I saw was when they left the insane asylum and Wednesday was hurt. That's the last one I saw. So I need to. And then I saw.
I think that's it.
No, because I thought it started another one. Because it was her. I don't want to say she was still in con. Yeah, no, don't. No. We'll find out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but again, thank you for coming by.
Thanks for inviting me.
For Media and More, this has been the Mediocre Marler and my buddy Stuart. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Nanu.
Pew 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 pew.